Hi everyone, I'm Rio here. Join me, Digital Chemical Label from DKSH. Here we have Hector David from ChemCloud.
Thanks, Rio. Good to be here.
Yeah, today we'll be talking about all the digital transformation that we have done together and we see together, how it's transformed the world in the chemical industry.
Hello everyone, welcome back. Today with my co-host Rio Chang from Melbourne, Australia. We are joining once again to continue our conversation with ChemCloud, with both co-founders of ChemCloud, David Wright and Hector Williamson.
G'day, Florian.
Hi, Florian.
Hey, Lauren. Great to see you again.
Welcome back, both of you. And in our last episode, we dive in very deep into our digital transformation journey. Like we have a very good and aligned vision of what we believe in the industry, and seeing how in both DKSH and ChemCloud we have the same vision, and then diving into this trend. I think probably today we can talk more about what's the future, what's future development, what's the future risk that we will be looking into this chemical industry. And with the both of you.
So David, starting with you at ChemCloud, what are your innovation challenges for the future?
Yeah, I think as we kind of touched on in the last episode, the industry has been fairly slow to adopt digital transformation, I think, generally. And, we've identified a few reasons, or at least, from an innovation perspective, things that we need to address. One is, as I mentioned last time, the regulation and compliance around the products themselves and quality of the products, and dealing with approvals in formulations is something that really needs to be catered for digitally. And so working through how we deal with that in the product has been a really key focus for us. The other one, and it goes to the complexity of the workflow that we talked about last time. Both sides of the transaction have their own systems as well. So buyers are obviously needing to manage their production and invoicing and accounts obviously through ERPs, and similarly suppliers have ERPs and CRMs. That really any digital solution that's going to involve itself in the transaction itself really needs to be interoperable with those systems on both sides. And so how we deal with that again has been something that's been a real focus for the team at ChemCloud. And finally, I think just the simplicity of the user experience and the interface itself, in terms of how you design that in a way that anyone can just log in and pick it up really quickly and understand what to do. The challenge in simplifying what is otherwise quite a complex workflow so that people can navigate that easily has been, again, a really interesting innovation challenge for us to solve and work through. But it's something that for all of those things, basically what we just do every day, and hours a day, is just talk to customers and understand what are their challenges and what are the things that are going to work for them. Customers obviously being both buyers and suppliers, and what how can we build a tool that really solves those challenges for them.
100%. I think we all can agree, every day 1%, what we did every day did a little bit more and more and more. Eventually, it's a compounding effect that you achieve a great outcome. Yeah, you want to build a wall, you have to lay your brick by brick. And one day you have the great wall of your house. I think this is a very interesting insight that David you mentioned. And I think probably turning to Hector for you, I have a question for you now. Based on ChemCloud, your market analysis, right? Which industry currently the most engaged in using your platform? And also, you might also tell me what kind of region you find is being the most active and what you are seeing so far.
Yeah, we're Australian based, based here in Melbourne. So all of our customers all of our buyers are based in Australia still. Although from what we see we do get some inbound leads from overseas in the US and Europe, and from what we hear, the problems that those manufacturers face are very similar. We're not quite ready to expand overseas yet. In terms of the industries though, as you both know, the chemicals industry sort of is actually 14 or 15 different industries within it. Where we've had the most take up, I suppose, from customers has been in that more commoditized materials where there's more substitutability, which lends itself more to customers buying based on availability. Because of that, the digital channel is able to sort of give those options in a lot, in a much easier way for them to develop. So that's really led us into a couple of industries like cleaning, industrial use cases, automotive, and starting to move into agriculture. We do have some customers in food and beverage and also personal care.
Yeah.
But because a lot of the raw material inputs or the active ingredients are sort of branded products, there's often exclusivity. They're really just buying from one supplier. We do have a lot of pull from that area, but we're trying to concentrate on our couple of key industries at the moment. I think the other interesting lens on that is not just the industry, but the type of customer, or buyer in our case. So the classic customer or buyer for us is on the smaller side. So where the owner of the business is sort of owner operator, they're the one that answers the phone when you call the business. Yeah. They're running procurement, but they're also running sales. They're probably doing R&D. Yeah, R&D. They're also helping in the warehouse. They're jumping on the forklift from time to time. So time saving for them is just critical. We have really good take up from them, and also because they're an owner operator, they're able to make decisions really quickly. And then I think they are looking to centralize a lot of their procurement onto the platform, if not all of it, and just see the platform as sort of a procurement person. And then we've also had take up from larger customers that are looking for, they haven't been able to find a source of supply, and so they use us to sort of navigate the different sources of supply.
Sounds like just Rio. Sorry, it just made me think about something, and that's a completely off-script question for you, Hector and David. Do you see sometimes in CameCloud people doing some cross-selling? Like I have a project, and to make that project, I need that. I mean, it's quite common in chemicals. I need that type of ingredient, that type of ingredient, and that type. Do you see sometimes like just people using that platform so they can mix the different chemicals they need for their project or not?
Definitely, yeah. It's particularly for these, manufacturers, they're often looking to consolidate their purchasing, particularly if it's in small quantities, because they can sometimes get cost savings if you can consolidate the freight. Particularly in Australia, road freight is very expensive, and that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
But also for simplicity from them, if they can deal with a single point or have all that, all of the raw materials for their bill of materials or their production run coming under the same purchase order or centralizing the platform, it makes a lot of sense, and they become often customers are willing to trade off a slightly higher price sometimes because of the convenience that they get.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. Interesting. So it seems like you have a lot of happy customers.
Yeah, we do work very hard. Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that Dave said. It's like we spend a lot of time sitting next to customers, watching how they work, essentially, and often we're coming and talking to them about different problems that they're used to talking about. We're not coming trying to sell them a certain product. We're often asking them, can you talk us through your procurement workflow, or how is your information stored in your ERP?
Yeah.
And, those are the types of questions we're asking because the types of problems we're solving are fundamentally flows of information problems. And I think, that can be cathartic for a lot of our customers because no one's ever asked them before about how painful it is to track an order or, how annoying it can be to get, quotes in different formats from all your different suppliers.
And that's where exactly how CameCloud add so much value to the customers with this digital transformation you're providing to them, right? And right, turning to you, David, like what kind of do you see, based on what Hector we on all discussed just now, what kind of digital trend you have been seeing from you daily speaking to customer every day with the owner or the key stakeholder in the business, from your years of experience and your both your family business and CameCloud, like what have you seen so far?
Yeah, well, to be fair to the family business, my dad was a great chemical engineer, but we did have a room from full of faxes from the 1980s. So there was a bit of a kind of mismatch of digital focus there. But no, I mean we basically all the manufacturers we speak to, they want to grow their business and they're trying to do so with fewer resources. And I think digital, ways of doing things digitally, really speaks to increasing the efficiency of how they can run their operation. And I think the other thing we see, and the other interesting thing, and I made the comment last time around maybe why the chemical industry has been somewhat slow to adopt digital, generally in e-commerce. I spoke to kind of the changing, generational shift. The interesting thing for us is actually, some of our, power users of the platform aren't millennials or Gen Zs. They're people who've been in the industry for 20 or 20 plus years. And I think because they understand that there can be a better way of doing things than sending out the 5 emails and, calling the account manager to see where the truck is. And so that's been a really interesting learning for us. And, I think one of the other things we've seen is, as Hector kind of talked to previously, I think speed is really, something that customers value and something that both distributors and us as a platform really need to cater for. So, there's some of the things that we've learnt, and, outside of just expecting responses really quickly, and certainly I can speak to this from my family business, when you've got a container of product that's going somewhere or something coming in, and it's almost like a black box flying. You can track a pair of shoes, but you don't know where your $50,000 container is. They click on that order tracking page like at least 4 times, even just for local deliveries. So customers really want visibility on where their stuff is, and I think making sure that we really give a good experience in terms of how they can do that it's been really important for us.
One of the interesting trends we always thought customers would come in and, there's very specific actions you can take, make a request, review a quote, place an order, and then see where the tracking is. And we track that a lot. For instance, a delivery, customers will come in on average 4 times every delivery. They'll check that tracking page. When you consider some deliveries, it'll only be 3 days from order placed to the actual arrival. That's once a day. They're just checking, where is it? But I think the other thing we're seeing is the sticky, customers or the buyers are really making this part of their workflow. So the customers that are logging in, they're doing so 4 to 5 days out of the week. So it's almost every day they're logging in. And we see it increasingly as and in the words of some of our customers, like, well, so when I centralize my procurement in here, I'm just going to live in here, because all the information they need is at their fingertips. They've got their approved materials, suppliers, quotes, and all the incoming orders.
From my end, and I think probably Florian will also agree as well. We see the similar thing with DKSH Discover, that every time as a trade show or seeing customer face to face, when we showcase DKSH Discover, where is our e-commerce product catalog, showing to the both R&D department or like the procurement department, we said they can store all the sample requests, all the quotation requests, and online tracking. They will be like, "Oh wow, this is my best buddy for the whole for like 5 to 10 years." I think Florian, you agree on that one as well, right?
Yeah, you nail it actually, and that's something that was quite funny, because at the very early stage of DKSH Discover, we've been running some focus group buyer persona to really understand to whom that platform was dedicated, right? And at first, you say, okay, it's a catalog, so it will be dedicated to R&D specialists, right? And then we start by diffusing the data, talking with people, and understood that they're actually 2 completely different user journey. There is one user journey of the R&D specialist, which is testing, checking, formulating almost online, right? By applying which type of function or dosage of application. So we say, okay, for those guys, we absolutely need to deliver the right platform, so they can out of our portfolio go to the right ingredient. But in the other side, that's what you're saying. Actually, purchasing people, they are much more in terms of is that ingredient certified? Can I get this applied? What's the recurring cost? What's the Ecoterms? What the payment terms? I mean, there are plenty of other features that actually the first persona has no idea about. So, and that's one of our challenge to, in one single place, deliver 2 types of experience in a seamless way. And I'm sure, Ken Cloud, you might have some similar challenges, right?
Definitely. And then you keep going further down the through the production chain, because the warehouse person isn't interested in the quotes, but they definitely want to know when it's going to arrive and that it's left, because they're juggling production. And then the finance team, well, they want to make sure it was delivered in full, and what were the payment terms on that order, because they might be different. And so you've got so many different people across the organization, and I think
great interest.
And it applies equally on the supply side. You must have the same challenges internally, because you've got the account manager is interested in the quoting and the R&D and so on. But then if there's customer service is really dealing with the habit of the order, again, finance gets involved. So there's a huge number of people on both sides that are trying to look at specific parts of that whole transaction flow. And so there's making that widely available is challenging, but it's exciting as well.
I think we are we have been covering a lot of the actual business. What are the triggers? What are the challenges, and so on for the future? We were talking a lot about technology, and in 2024, we cannot talk technology without talking AI, right? I mean, we are in May 17th. On that same week, we got the announcement from Google I/O, also ChatGPT 4.0. I mean, you see that things are moving, and they are moving quite fast. One of the challenges to say, it's great. We are all of us using ChatGPT for our daily life, but much beyond our personal use. We also have a lot of questions on how can we apply effectively Gen AI in the chemical industry in terms of efficiency, acceleration. But I will be extremely interested to hear from you. What type of use do you foresee, or do you think can be applied in our industry?
Yeah, we think it's really exciting. There's a lot of...
Could be an episode 3 coming up. Dedicated to AI.
Yeah. Becoming the co-host in the future.
Yeah. There's... and everyone is... I think everyone's excited, but also cautious, because, you've seen the way that, the different models can hallucinate or, can produce inaccurate information, which is, accuracy is really key for us. But we see there's a lot of... we often talk about the sweet spot for the application of AI in automating tasks is when they're sort of high frequency, high effort, but low stakes tasks. And a lot of these we're building into our interface, or we're doing it internally at the moment, but then hoping to expose it to customers where they can easily fetch information from their own, about like, when's this arriving? Instead of, a couple of clicks to navigate around the site, they can use that with a text prompt. But then similarly, they can also sort of execute commands. So I need the next delivery of propylene glycol. 3 RBCs of propylene glycol. Can you reach out to my approved suppliers? And then that's done. That would have taken going to your email, sending out the email, etc. And then just all of these small tasks, executing on them is a real time saver. But we've got to be careful, and you need 100% accuracy for those types of things. And so, we're experimenting with it and sort of applying it internally initially to automate a lot of our internal processes before starting to roll that out to both buyers, but also suppliers. There's a lot of sales admin that we think can be automated in the same way. Correct. Are you? I'm curious to. I mean, everyone's probably rushing to implement it. What about at DKSH?
Well, I mean, at DKSH we have that same approach to say that we have to be careful on the use we made out of Gen AI, and specifically with this hallucination rate, right? So, one of our first application was to help people saving time on the digitalization of our ingredients and product, right? And like what we've been applying is that they came from a content creator to become a content validator, So instead of typing and making the work by yourself, we use Gen AI API for generating the content, and then we get the validation done by someone that is highly technical, right? So that's one of the operations that we're thinking. And on the other side, we truly believe that AI is a great enabler to accessing data, talking to your data from an assumption to an insight and a prediction, having this way of running the data much easier. That's something that we truly believe in terms of improving efficiency. And the last one, I mean, when we first see in the future, we truly believe in the prompt, and we are actually asking ourselves, like, is the fact of I search an ingredient, or I search an application, and I have a list of 150 results. insight because you discover is it something that will be one day outdated, right? And potentially you will get just a prompt search with one result alternative and explaining why this alternative is better than another one. So I don't know, predicting ourselves in the future, we think that we will go toward that type of results.
Agree with. I think one thing in our generation, AI has been a great help because in this era we are facing we have too much data that compared with 10, 20 years ago. And even though we say data is king, right? But how do we interpret those data? That's the king of the king. I think AI definitely plays a big part of to digest all those big chunk of metadata and then translate into a proper valuable information that we can cloud and ourselves, DKS, we can use it to really, really develop, deliver great value to our customers. I think, do you agree on that one?
100% agree. Yeah, it's going to be the way that I think people interact with the information that they've got. Just it's going to be more and more natural that's how you access the data that's at your fingertips.
Exactly. A classic example is pricing data. Our customers, so buyers, they're always asked by their customers why are prices increasing, typically, or sometimes decreasing. But if they're increasing, their customers are often unhappy. So they need to provide a reason why, the price of their major raw material input, let's say it was propylene glycol again, has increased. And often they don't have that data at their fingertips, but it's crucial for them to be able to give a good answer. It goes to validity.
Right.
And credibility on their behalf. AI can help not only quickly extract that price trend, but probably give a relatively good answer. If a general answer, you'd want to check it, but a pretty good answer as to why it's happening. So I think
hallucination on the prices.
And there's a real risk. But and look, I think they're obviously our customers' minds often go to like the worst case scenarios. They say, so what if I by mistake, what if it misheard me and 100 ton of raw material arrives on my doorstep, and I haven't ordered that. So safeguards are really important. But I think that's the other thing and it goes to your point, Florian, you're probably going to have some sort of an AI input or a chat interface, but you're also going to want to see a more classic interface like we have now to be able to absorb multiple data points visually. And so trying to navigate that new world of what is that, like an AI, a chat or generative AI enhanced interface look like is going to be interesting. I mean, not just in our industry, but in every industry.
Yeah, definitely. Good. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing those very interesting insights on AI and their applications in our industry. But by the way, I have a question for you. Two questions. I think we're running a bit out of time, but anyway, I will ask you. First, out of your experience on working with different suppliers, how do you consider a supplier or a distributor as being a digitally mature one? And my second question, which has nothing to do with the first one, is where do you see actually KimCloud in the next 5 years? What's the path we want to go ahead? So first you talk about others, and then you talk about you.
Yeah, well, I think on the supplier front, there's a number of elements to what and we deal with all the distributors here in Australia. I think the first thing beyond or before you even start to talk about sort of the digital capability, a lot of it is whether the supplier thinks is open-minded to the possibilities of digital and sees it as an opportunity or a threat or an irrelevance. Because there are still a lot of people in the industry that don't think digital is going to be the future. So I think the first hallmark of what we'd call a digitally mature supplier is actually embracing the fact that there are a whole lot of opportunities as a distributor for embracing not just digitalization internally, but also working with other players in the digital ecosystem, like we mentioned earlier. That's the first thing. And for us, we live and breathe this, and we think it's digital is the way of the future. So it's always surprising to us when, there are some suppliers that aren't, they don't sort of see it that way. But then I think once you move beyond that, there's a lot of different capabilities, I suppose, or muscles that suppliers or digitally mature suppliers have. One is the ability to like experiment and move quickly. I think one of the great things working with DKSH is we've been pretty quick to set up pilots on specific hypotheses to see if they work. And not all of them have worked. We've experimented with some things that haven't worked, but some things have worked really well, and then double down on the things that work well. But that's a mindset. That's not even actual digital capability. And then I think there's the more technical stuff like how is data structured and stored. That sort of stuff can be a real handbrake if you don't have that data set up, for instance. But yeah, it's a really interesting landscape, and I think we sort of traverse the journey with lots of different distributors differently.
I think both of you both agree, like in this digital transformation world, we have to keep trying. Like Amazon, they have so many products and only one work, but you just only need one that works, that transforms the next decades of our chemical industries.
100%. Right. I mean, Rio, you would know we're sort of presenting something to you every second week for feedback. So we're always up. We've got a team of software engineers, and we're always sort of looking at what's next. And not everything works, but that's why you've got to get it out there quickly, put it in the hands of users. For us, that's both buyers and suppliers, and see if it adds value or not. And if it doesn't, we move on.
And it's being willing to kind of just bite off a little bit of the challenge, not kind of think that you need to do a wholehearted, completely restructure everything and do a project for 24 months to see if something's going to work. It's quickly bite off little chunks and see what does work.
I guess that's what gets you both of you up in the morning.
Yes, that and young children, unfortunately.
For Florian and Rio, you're at the forefront of that internally. How do you measure your, DKSH's digital maturity? What are the markers you're looking at, when you're sort of, in that maturation phase?
Well, I mean, to measure actually our level of maturity, we see actually where we do stand depending on different factors. There is one factor that everyone see, which is the digital marketing, the customer portal, and how we are able to interact with customers on one side. There is another one, which is the level of internal digitization and all related to operations, how digital operations is getting implemented and how we can measure this. And the last one is it's actually in terms of capacity to deliver digital solutions. Our internal production, we have our own product teams, our own product owners, and our own way to deliver and to develop our CRM and operations. So that's the three main factors we are taking a look after, and also we really measure this level of maturity on global companies like us, on that capacity to being thinking global, having one global strategy, and applying that strategy on the local. Think global, act local, and having this local operation. So we would not say that we are the most advanced distributors in the digital ecosystem everywhere. However, on the strategy we have, I can say we are quite advanced. And our challenge is to get the traction for our three main stakeholders, which are, in one side, our customers, our suppliers, but the most important one, our own people.
I think I can back what Florian mentioned as well. I think at the very last point he mentioned, digital transformation without our own people, without a company, without people changing is going nowhere. So I think most important part is digital transformation for us is how we influence, what Florian mentioned, how we influence our own internal stakeholders and our customers to be part of this journey, walk with us together. And that's the main job we're trying to do as well, apart from all the development and technology. Ultimately, people are the most important parts. But that raised me, I have another question for the two of you, Hector and David. Since Chemiplan has found, this is the first time you guys being a co-founder and an entrepreneur. I'm just curious, what's the most difficult part and the most challenging part of your job? And on the side, what's the most fun part of your job that makes you have a joyous smile every day?
Yeah, I mean, the challenge I think is, we've spoken about how there's lots of challenges. One of them is, we, as we said, we kind of speak to customers all the time. It's knowing when to really just back yourself in, I think, and just build it because you believe that something is really going to transform their experience. And I think having the conviction to be able to do that and having enough data points and enough discussions to actually back ourselves in and go and build it. I think there's a challenge of knowing when to go and when to not. But yeah, I mean, it's good fun. I mean, we're solving, challenges that really affect people's, way that they interact with this industry. And there's so much opportunity, and there's so many challenges for us to solve. And, that's fun. And we're doing this because we care about the industry and what it means, and what the future of a really forward-looking chemical industry means for the world, and it's massively impactful. The world's not going to get to the net zero targets and the green future that we imagine without the chemical industry. It's fundamental to how the world is going to achieve that, and so to be part of something where we're trying to build tools that enable that future is that's kind of what gets us out of bed in the morning.
Yeah, I think the best bit, Rio, is when you're visiting, as particularly when you're building with customers, and then you keeping returning, showing them what we've built, getting their feedback, and then over time, just hearing their feedback. And there's nothing nicer than hearing customers sit on the other side of the table and say, ChemCloud's been great for our business, or it's saving me a lot of time. One customer even said, "We love ChemCloud." That makes you happy.
Was it Ben?
That's the best bit. I think the last one is just Dave and I have known each other for a long time, but the team we're building, we've got a great mix of people in the team. We've been able to attract people from within the industry, which has been great. People that have been in the industry for a long time want to see, that they can see that there's a better way of doing things. Yeah. And then people that, particularly in our software development team, that haven't been in the industry but know the effect that applying software to these type of challenges, knowing the impact that can have, and seeing how they get passionate about the industry as well and the impact that we have on our customers. So, we're the team that we're growing is also a great part of the experience of building ChemCloud.
I actually completely agree with what you mentioned about your team. For example, just myself, I came from no chemical background, but then every day getting involved and seeing this journey being transformed in the chemical industry just gets me up in the morning, even though I don't have kids yet, but soon we will. But I completely agree with the two of you, and you guys are such a great, both, so you start a great company together, and then we continue to look forward to, our partnership in the future as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, David, Hector. What you just mentioned was extremely insightful and inspiring for us, Rio and I, for also, I'm sure, all the listeners we will have on that podcast. I mean, it was incredibly insightful learning about the challenges that you're facing, the future of the chemical industry, and also how at ChemCloud more than ever you managed to place the people in the middle and working hard to solve challenges that are bigger than us. So that's something extremely insightful. I would like to thank you also, Rio, for setting up this podcast episode. You've been doing an amazing job into placing and organizing everything. Thank you very much, all of you, for listening to the podcast. And David, Hector, the door is open. So looking forward to see you next time on our podcast. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Next time we'll fly to France to visit Florian.
Yeah, 100% during the summer. Thank you.
Yeah, schedule it
during the summer, and we've got ID.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Thank you. Yeah.